Now, right here, live from the curvy couch, the governor of the great state of New Jersey, Chris Christie. Good morning to you.
Hey, Steve. Good to see you.
Okay, so the president's going to sit down with the top guys from the Congress today because they couldn't figure it out. You know, the Republicans have a plan. Where's the president's plan?
Well, it's about time the president gets in the room. And that's what I've been saying since last week, is that, you know, you can't fix these things. He's not a prime minister. Okay, you're the president of the United States, so get in the room and get to work. And listen,
why hasn't he done that so far?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I mean,
why do you think?
I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. I mean, but all I know is he took this job, and this job is about making things happen. And I hope he's going to get in there and make it happen. I mean, you know, when I negotiated this pension and benefit deal with the Democratic leadership in my legislature, I didn't send my lieutenant governor to do it.
And so how did you do it? Because you are part of a state that has a democratically controlled state legislature.
It's a blue state.
And you have done what so many other governors have been unable or had such a hard time doing. You have radically cut into pensions going forward, the pension plan. So what did you say to them to get them to go along with it?
First off, I came out with a plan first. I took risk first and angered the public sector unions first, back in September of last year. And then I did 30 town hall meetings, Steve was at one of them, across the state to sell the plan, to make sure the public understood $54 billion in pension debt and $67 billion in health insurance debt couldn't be sustained. That put public pressure on Democratic leaders. And also, to be fair, the Democratic Senate President, Steve Sweeney, he's been advocating this for 5 years as a moderate Democrat. And so I had a partner there I could work with. The Assembly Speaker came forward and said she understood how grave the problem was. And they're really courageous. I have to give credit to the two of them because I wouldn't be able to do it without them. But then what we did at the end, there were a lot of differences between our plans. Two of us got in a room, three of us got in the room for the better part of 2 months on and off, and just hammered it out until we all gave a little bit more than we thought we would to get a deal that's not going to save taxpayers $132 billion over the next 30 years.
But you do say, too, I didn't get everything I wanted.
Of course not. You never do, especially in divided government. I mean, they're a co-equal branch of government. And there's some things they wanted that I wouldn't have wanted in the plan, but they also accepted some things that they didn't want to accept either. That's the nature of compromise. But what we didn't ask each other to do was to compromise our principles. And that's the difference, and that's where the president's got to get to today. Republicans have certain principles they're going to want to stand on, and he's got to find a way. He's got to find a way to get around that, and I think there are ways to do it.
Right, sure. And especially if there's a history. I think Republicans feel as though that $38 billion that they thought they cut turned into $357 million, and they feel as though they were burned last time. Experience. How much does past negotiations deal into future negotiations?
A lot. A lot, especially if they're the same characters sitting around the table, which there will be. And so past scars tend to make future agreements a little more difficult. But what I'd say to my Republican friends are these problems are too big to worry about what happened in the past. You know, be like Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
Sure. So far, you know, the president has been late to the party. He's had everybody else working on this thing. Do you think there are a lot of people looking in on what's going on thinking, you know, this is the number one thing. We're teetering on bankruptcy. It looks like he's not interested.
Yeah, you know, listen, I think it's a concern, and that's why I said it last Friday publicly and repeated it again yesterday on national television. I don't think there's any substitute for presidential leadership, no matter who the president is, whether I agree with him or not. He is the number one person in the country. He's the person who's got to define the debate and then get in there and bring the parties togetand And if you're unwilling to do that, then you don't belong in the job.
He's been awfully busy running for re-election.
Yeah, I hear you.
And can we quickly talk about the conversation that you had with the woman caller when you were on the radio show who called in about and questioned your...
You mean Gail?
Gail questioned your rationale for cutting public school spending when your kids go to private school. Isn't it fair for constituents to ask their leaders why they made the education choices that they made?
No. It's not. That's my decision, me and my wife deciding for our children. And it's nobody's business but mine and my wife's why we made those judgments and that we made those judgments. And so, no, I don't think it is. And it certainly doesn't make me any less able to make decisions regarding the public schools in New Jersey. I'm a product of the public schools in New Jersey. And every one of those children in public schools in New Jersey is my responsibility, too, as governor. And so what that was just a nasty, bitter question. And I say this to people all the time. Steve saw it at my town halls. If you're nasty and bitter, you're going to get the same treatment back.
Here's what happened. It was a video. It was a question to you, was presented to you on video. You watched it and you responded. Let's listen.
You don't send your children to public schools, you send them to private schools. So I was wondering why you think it's fair to be cutting school funding to public schools.
Gail, you know what? First off, it's none of your business. I don't ask you where you send your kids to school. Don't bother me about where I send mine. I, as governor, am responsible for every child in this state, not just my own.
What sort of reaction have you gotten to that answer?
Well, you know, a lot more reaction across the country than I actually thought I would get, because I would think at this point, after 17 months and fairly high-profile months, that people know that's who I am. You know, I am not going to mince words.
You are an honest guy who says what's on his mind.
I do, and I'm not going to mince words about it. And the fact of the matter is, you saw the tone she asked that question with. This was not like a constituent.
She's trying to needle you.
She was not making an innocent inquiry, okay? She had a point of view. Fine, so do I. And now the people in New Jersey know my point of view, too.
Hey, why don't you stay right here if that's what you choose to do, because Steve is
Brian's
closest.
Scared of you.
A little bit. Next on the rundown, Governor sticks around. Everyone's asking if Chris Christie is actually running for president or not, and who he supports if he isn't going to, and would he actually, and who he might choose for a vice president. And who might be the number two? Yeah, who he would choose. Those questions.
What about him?
Your way.
Do we have time for all those questions?
Probably do. I think
don't worry, the answers will be short.
It's none of your business, Brian. Brian, it's none of your business.
All right, then maybe the Donald can help cut the debt. What does he think about the deals being cut in Washington? Who would he hire? Who would he fire?